Good morning, everyone. We're in November. Um, I'm here this morning with the coffee Zoom and just giving a few minutes to see if anyone pops in. But we're recording and we'll put this out on our live Facebook there so folks can see and hear things that are happening. My name's Suzanne Moore. I'm the county librarian here, and we've got some great activities come up during the month of November. In the calendar, you can pick your calendar up or find out about these items and all the info that you need on our internet website. Of course, we are closed for a couple of days this month. Just to bear in mind, we're closed next Friday for Veterans Day, and we'll be closed the 24th, 25th, and 26th for Thanksgiving. But as you know, this is the time of year when all the little creatures are getting ready to hibernate for the winter, and little squirrels are pulling up nuts and putting them in the trees and having their stockpile ready to go. So for us, I think the thing we need to do is stock up on some good books to read. You never know when you're going to get stuck in the house and it's too cold to do anything outside, but you can snuggle up with a good book and take your mind elsewhere and go other places through those pages. I have a monthly book club that meets out in Trap Hill, and every first Thursday. So it's this evening. Every first Thursday, I come on to Zoom with you all, and then also head over to Trap Hill to the Roaring River Vineyard for our book club we call the Reading Trap. So if you'd like to join us at the Reading Trap tonight, that's at 5 o'clock. It does not matter whether you've read the chosen book for the discussion we have tonight. You can join in and learn some things or share some thoughts. You may have already read the book, but for tonight, the book that we're talking about is sort of an obscure collection of essays by Guy Davenport. This is Geography of Imagination. There are 40 essays in this book, and it was nominated in 1982 for an American Book Award for nonfiction. And here's a little bit from the title essay. The difference between the Parthenon and the World Trade Center, between a French wine glass and a German beer mug, between Bach and John Philip Sousa, between Sophocles and Shakespeare, between a bicycle and a horse, though explicable by historical moment, necessity, and destiny, is before all else a difference of imagination. The imagination is like the drunk man who lost his watch and must get drunk again to find it. It is as intimate as speech and custom, and to trace its ways, we need to re-educate our eye. So basically, this collection of essays talks about all sorts of things, literary, artistic, relating to philosophy and art, and there's some really interesting connections made. So with this book of 40 essays, I know everybody at our group has not read all of them. In fact, we chose about 5 or 6 of them that were short and looked easy to conversate over. And, you know, sometimes you need to know a little background to understand things, but sometimes reading something you don't have any background on will lead you to further discoveries. So just one quick example of that, and I think it's fitting because with Veterans Day coming up around the corner, there was an essay in this book entitled Trees. And we, of course, made some copies to share. But it's about the poem Trees by Joyce Kilmer. And you know the poem, Joyce Kilmer served also as a veteran or as a serviceman in World War I. And of course, unfortunately, he did not come home alive from that service time there. He was killed by German gunfire. It says on the 30th of July, 1918. He was 32 years old. He got a Cross of Gallantry award for his bravery there. But this is just an introduction to trees and what led me to think about veterans today. It was June 1918. The Cincinnati poet Eloise Robinson was in the wasteland of Picardy, handing out chocolate and reciting poetry to the American Expeditionary Forces. reciting poetry. It is all but unimaginable that in that hell of terror, gangrene, mustard gas, sleeplessness, lice, and fatigue, there were moments when bone-weary soldiers, for the most part mere boys, would sit in a circle around a lady poet in an ankle-length khaki skirt and a Boy Scout hat to hear poems. In the middle of one poem, the poet's memory flagged. She apologized profusely for the poem as she explained it was immensely popular back home, whereupon the sergeant held up his hand as if in school and volunteered to recite it, and did. So in that hideously ravaged orchards and striped woods of the valley, where the fields were cratered and strewn with coils of barbed wire, fields that reeked of cordite and carrion, a voice recited trees. How wonderful, said Eloise Robinson, that he should know it. Well, ma'am, said the sergeant, I guess I wrote it. I'm Joyce Kilmer. So if you haven't read the poem, or you may recall it, it talks about trees and how in the end only God can make a tree. And I know I'm just sharing some of my thoughts with you here today, but I did think about that essay and that poem, The Trees, and it reflected on my mind of another poem called So God Made a Veteran. And with Veterans Day coming, I thought you might be interested in hearing that as well. It was written by Carla Dorman and published in 2013. And I think it kind of is a take on the Paul Harvey essay or poem, that you could call it, that he wrote about how God made a farmer. This is how So God Made a Veteran. And on the 10th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a hero. So God made a veteran. God said, I need somebody willing to get up before dawn, to work all day and long into the night, eat supper if there is time, and do it all over again the next day and the next. On call 24/7. So God made a veteran. He needed somebody with arms strong enough to carry freedom on their back and yet gentle enough to hold an enemy's child. Someone who is willing to serve their nation without expecting a reward from their return. Someone who will stand straight and tall in the rage of war. Someone who looks fear in the face and does it anyway, even though it goes against everything they believe in, even though it gives them nightmares for years to come. So God made a veteran. God said, I need someone willing to set up with a wounded soldier and watch him or her die, and then dry their eyes and say, no one left behind. I need someone who will put others' needs above their own, who carries on while their family cries and prays back home. Someone who gives 110% of themselves, even when others protest, spit on them, and call them names. So God made a veteran. God had to have someone who will march until they can march no more, and with legs screaming for relief, pushes on until their duty is done. He needed someone who swore to protect the Constitution against all enemies, who sweats, who fights, who bleeds, who dies, believing in God, country, and freedom, just because they feel it is right. So God made a veteran. And God saw that it was good. And when he saw chests swell with pride and old eyes filled with tears, when he heard the sons and daughters, mothers, fathers, brothers, and sisters of the veterans say, I want to be just like you, thank you. And that's why God made a veteran. I think that's really meaningful, and it's, like I said, thinking about these poems, these essays that Guy Davenport wrote, in particular the one about the poem Trees that Joyce Kilmer wrote, who was defending in battle and lost his life in World War I. It kind of led my thoughts to this poem on veterans, which is what books and poetry do. Things you read, essays, anything, fiction, nonfiction, they kind of open your eyes and thoughts and direct your mind to take new paths and discover new things. So that's why I love books. I want to say really quick that if you're interested in joining us for the Reading Trap next month, first Thursday at 5 o'clock, the chosen book is A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. This is an amazing story. It's also put out in film, I believe in the 50s, sometime in the 50s. And this is about childhood and family relationships. The family of the Nolans, they live in Williamsburg slums of Brooklyn. And this again is in the early days of the 1900s. And their daughter Francie and their son Neely, they have all sorts of happenings going on. Of course, they're a poor family, but this is a really inspiring book about imagination and the resourcefulness of children. And Francie's growing up, and the beginnings of wisdom are the substance of a tree grows in Brooklyn. You may or may not have heard about this book. It is an older book. I'll tell you what the reading trap does is like to read books that you may not have read before, books that are recommended that everyone should read. So we don't necessarily read the newest fiction, but we do enjoy looking back at the past and picking up older things. So if you're into that kind of book club, we meet tonight and every first Thursday at 5 o'clock in Trap Hill at the Roaring River Vineyard. Come out and visit with us there. Back to our focus on veterans. You know, as I mentioned, there's a lot going, well, Veterans Day, we're closed that day, but there's a lot going on leading up to Veterans Day. And it begins Saturday at the VFW Post 1142. There we're going to have the first annual Marathon Jam. And Marathon Jam is a nonprofit that helps to raise money to fund Fisher Houses. We have 2 Fisher Houses in our state. If you're not aware of what is the Fisher House, there's one at Fort Bragg and another one in Camp Lejeune. And it's a comfort home. It's something like you may have heard before, a Ronald McDonald House, where families can stay nearby the treatment center, the medical facilities where their children are being treated. This is a similar situation. The Fisher houses families of veterans who are receiving medical treatment. And you know, if your loved one is in care and you want to be nearby, it can be expensive, especially if you're out of town and you have to rent a motel or a hotel room. That can run into more than your normal monthly rent bill after just a couple of nights stay. But the Fisher House allows those families a place to stay that's safe, comfortable, and close by. And this is what Marathon Jam does. They raise money to support those places, those Fisher Houses in our state. So the first time we've ever had one in this county is going to be this Saturday. And like the word marathon is a long thing. Musicians are invited to come and play. People that like to listen come out and visit and hear some good music and spend some time with friends and enjoy the music. But the musicians get together for 10 or 12 hours straight. So it's our first jam. We're starting off with a 10-hour jam. We're going to begin at 1 in the afternoon on Saturday the 5th. We're going to 11 at night. And this will be at the Post 1142, VFW Post 1142. It's a partnership that we have there with the veterans and the Wilkes Acoustic Folk Society. And, you know, we have a little jam program of our own that takes place out in the Trap Hill Branch Library again every 4th Saturday. Just on that note, the 4th Saturday of November, the 4th Saturday of December are the like right in the holiday times where we may be closed or people are busy with other things, Christmas and Thanksgiving. So our branch jamming at the branch out in Trap Hill will resume in January. But we are meeting this Saturday along with everyone else to play music and support the Fisher Houses at a Marathon Jam. We would love for you to come out and enjoy some good music. And while they're at the jam, we are going to honor 10 veterans, and a few of those are first responders as well, with a quilt of honor. We're going to have them wrapped and acknowledge their service and thank them for all they do for us. So you may like to come and be part of that special moment and recognize and thank these folks for their time and service with us. Let's see. the Marathon Jam, the veterans programming, all of this kind of was inspired when we took on a project here called the Wilkes County Library Veteran History Project. And this is a community engagement type of program where we work with families and call on volunteers and folks that are interested in supporting the work to document and preserve stories of our local veterans. And a few things about that. The veterans, here in Wilkes County, maybe majority of us have grown up and lived here all our lives, but sometimes the veterans that we run into have moved here recently. They grew up in other places, but they live here now. Well, their stories are important as well. Or sometimes the veterans that we talk about in our collection have family members that live here, but they live elsewhere, but they have a connection with us. They're part of our county from afar. So we're collecting those stories, no matter whether those folks served in combat or only home on the state side. Their stories are all important. We have been building this digital archive over the last year, and this is this month we're going to be releasing the first print edition of some stories that we've collected in 2022. We're still continuing to collect stories, and our hopes are to release a new annual collection of stories and a new book every November in honor of our veterans. That book, the first volume of this history project, will be available within the next few days. The goal is to have it ready by Veterans Day, so we'll see if we can get it next week and have it to show and share. And all those that share their stories and participate in the project get some complimentary copies of that book to keep as a keepsake. But we do plan to release that book to all of the school libraries in our county, community college library as well, to our assisted living facilities, and have some copies in the county libraries within our regions that folks can borrow it and look at it. But there will probably be some extra copies out there that we can sell, and our friends of the library are great for helping us with that. They sell books to build the collection, the programming budget. The money they raise helps us with our programs. So they will probably be selling some of those books, and money coming back from those books will go to help fund next year's print edition. We're lucky to get our funding from a grant through the state library to help with the publishing costs. Also, again, some money from our friends and the town of Wilkesboro who helped to offset the cost. And very excited about that. I'll definitely have it to show and tell with me next time I Zoom together with you. But be on the lookout for the first edition of our Veterans History Project. See if you can come out and visit us for the first annual Marathon Jam and help support the Fisher Houses. And then coming in the new week, bam, 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 we've got a row of programs for our folks in honor of our veterans. And one thing that we've been doing, our children have been collecting and, well, actually creating, not really collecting. Let me show you here. How to get off screen for a minute so I can reach for it. Got a whole stack of little cards and notes and little thank yous that the kids have put together, and we'll be distributing them to our veterans at coffee call this Tuesday. They have a monthly coffee call out at the VFW Post 1142, and it's every second Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock. We will be out there to distribute cards, talk to the veterans about the history project, hopefully show that new book off. As I said, we're waiting for it to come back from the publishers. It could be here any day, maybe today. But we'll be really excited to get started with sharing those cards. We do have a couple of story walks that are going up. They'll be up by the first of the week. One is going to be downtown in North Wilkesboro. It will be put in the windows of local businesses, so you can walk through the streets and read it as you go along. And the name of the story is called The Poppy Lady. It's the story of Mona Michael Bell, and she, in 1919, I believe, she made the tradition of giving a red poppy in memory of our veterans and to keep their sacrifices ever present in our thoughts. So this is all about how that tradition began. When you read about the Poppy Lady and you come downtown North Wilkesboro to read that story, you'll end up at our library. And if you're a little child that has visited from reading the story walk, you can check in at our front desk and get your very own poppy, little poppy pin to wear, and a token. And this is a cool thing. We have a new book vending machine. Yeah, like, where you can get snacks normally out of a vending machine or drinks. This is a machine that you can put in a special gold token and get out a book to keep for yourself. The vending machine was a partnership we had with Wilkes Partnership for Children, and they're stocking the machine full of books. They received funding through First National Bank to purchase the vending machine and install it here in the library. And that's the whole purpose of reading that story and coming down to the library and getting a book of your own. There'll be like a regular vending machine, rows of books that you can pick from and choose. When you insert your little coin, it'll come out. It's like a soda would, but it's a book. So that's pretty cool. It's a new thing, and it's just starting up here. We'll be having that open and running for the next couple of days. As I mentioned, story walks. I said there were 2 of them. The other story walk will be out at Fish Dam Park and Fish Dam Creek Park. Anyway. The name of that story is called The Wall by Eve Bunting. And this is about a young boy who goes to the Vietnam Memorial in DC with his father to visit the Vietnam Veterans Wall. And on that wall, they look and find his grandfather's name and make a rubbing and etching of that name. And he learns about what happened with that horrible time in history and how grateful we were that we had men to support us and defend our country, but how we honor them with that memorial, and especially understand what happened to his grandpa. So it's kind of a touching story, but it's a great story to share some moment with a child about what happened then. If you'd like to come out and see either one of those story walks, will be up throughout the month of November. Here in the library, though, on Wednesday, November the 9th at 2:00, we're going to have a special presentation made by Laura Bailey on World War II. She's a historian. She majored in University of Arizona in all about World War II. She has several family members in our history project that served in that time frame and during that war. And she's going to talk a little bit on how our county responded to the call to serve and what we did as a county, our servicemen and women from Wilkes County, and how they supported our troops and how they served during the war. So we bring along some artifacts and different things for a little show and tell. It's a great little presentation that we'll have with her at 2:00 on Wednesday, November the 9th. That's early afternoon hours. You come out for it. Now, going back to second Friday, we're closed for Veterans Day. Normally, every second Friday, every month, we have something called Talking Service Book Club. And since we're closed on Friday for November, the Talking Service Book Club will meet at the VFW again over at Post 1142 for a special meeting, and we're going to have a little brunch. We're going to have some hamburger gravy on toast. This is something often referred to as SOS in military slang, and it's something that they ate just about every day for breakfast. Maybe they ate it for more than breakfast, but in hearing about this meal, those of us that didn't serve or haven't tried it got a little curious of what it is, find out what it tasted like. So several of our veterans will be over there next Thursday morning at 10:00 at Post 1142 to serve an SOS brunch. And kind of an offshoot of the Talking Service Book Club. So we'll be talking a little bit about the stories and the things that we discuss on a monthly basis there. Everyone is welcome, whether or not you're a veteran. You may be just a concerned civilian. You want to understand a little bit about war and crossing cultural boundaries, and you may have a veteran family member, or maybe you're a caretaker. It's just a group for just anyone and everyone to know and understand a little bit more about our servicemen and women and what they do for us. That's at 10 o'clock Thursday morning on the 10th at Post 1142. Now, here in the building that night, we're going to have a late program. It starts at 6:30. It's by a professor from ASU. His name is Eric Grosh, and he has a book called The Canteen. What I'm going to try to do is share my screen with you so you can take a look at that. I have it pulled up. All right, you may be seeing what I see here. This is his book, The Canteen, and it is full of photographs and tells the story of a sacrifice that a community made during World War II. It just so happens that in North Platte, Nebraska, as the community there heard about the horrible things that went down with Pearl Harbor and our nation was called to war, there's a photo of the Pearl Harbor bombing. And as I said, there's a little story and there's a lot of pictures involved, and it's just a wonderful book to understand how this community came to support the troops. What happened was they came out every single day during the entirety of World War II to meet troops passing through at the local train station. And they brought with them cards and food and even birthday cakes. They find out if there were some soldiers coming through that were celebrating birthdays, and they would just kind of encourage them, support them, let them know, how much they cared for them and what they were doing. So all of these stories are documented in a nice format with photos. There's a volunteer pictured here with a basket of apples that she's waiting to distribute to the soldiers on the train, Union Pacific Depot. And this is just a snippet of the book, as you can tell from Amazon, but it's called The Canteen. We're going to have some copies available for pickup if you're interested in getting one and having the author autograph. He'll be here to do a program to talk about the story and books for sale. I think it'll make a great gift for the holidays, as we know, coming up. Now we're closed at 11. Keep mentioning going back to that day. Go and celebrate with our veterans here in the county and with your family as well. But come back on the 12th. The 12th of November at the Heritage Museum, we're going to feature a special workshop celebrating veterans. Not a workshop, sorry, a concert celebrating veterans featuring the Crooked Road Ramblers. And they're an old-time traditional band, and they play a lot of old music that's traditional to this area of the Blue Ridge. They have dance music, old ballads, country, bluegrass, and one in particular that I definitely would love to hear and have requested from our band's leader. By the way, our band leader is Kilby Spencer, who works for the library as our IT coordinator. And he'll be bringing his band, Crooked Road Ramblers, out, and hopefully on his fiddle can play us a little Soldier's Joy, supporting our troops again. A lot going on. We're excited about all of these things. There's more to tell. I will mention every month on the second Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, our friends have a great book sale over at the bookstore behind the school board offices down the road from the library here. And you can buy some really awesome books for really, really affordable prices. So good place to go shopping. Might want to do that Friday when the library's closed. We've got a series of other programs and things happening, and regular things that you probably are aware of, such as our children's Monday Mayhem on Facebook, craft program for learning alphabet letters and sounds. We have story times. We have baby music and movement programs. All of those things are on the calendar for you. In the adult category for programs that adults will be interested in, we have a creative writers group that meets on the second Tuesday of every month at 10 o'clock. If you're interested in sharing some of your writings, we're trying to put together a writers magazine, and we'd like to include poems and photos and essays and stories and all sorts of things in that magazine, and we'd love to hear from you to share what you have if you'd like to join our group. It's open to the public, 10 a.m. every second Tuesday in the library. Every third Tuesday, we have something called the Library Book Club, just plain old Library Book Club, and this is run by Marlon Tugman. She's our adult service manager, and she picks some great stories for conversation and books to read. I believe in November, the book is called The Awakening by Kate Chopin. You can pick copies of that up at our circulation desk and join us for conversation at 4 o'clock on November 15th in the library. We have a group of ladies who like to get together and knit and crochet and do crafty things. They're called Chicks with Sticks. The Chicks with Sticks groups meet every Monday here at 4 o'clock. Lots of good things to do, lots of fun activities. The library is the place where you can find life, learning, inspiration, fellowship, enrichment. Life in the library. So I know I've been rambling for a bit now, so I'm going to go ahead and wish you well. Hope you see this Zoom, and if you'd like to join me live and talk some, I don't like to do all the talking. I like to carry on the conversation. So come on and check us out. Hit the Zoom bar in our library's banner next month. Every first Thursday at 9 o'clock, I'll be here to record and talk to folks that join me online about things that are happening, things you're interested in knowing about, or maybe suggestions you have. I don't want to leave you out. I always forget there's one extra thing to say. We have a special program. This is Native American History Month. So in honor of our Native Americans, Tim Wilkes, a Native American that is right here, is coming to present and share with us a PowerPoint on who are Native Americans with a little history involved. We're going to be putting together a nice digital resource for you with all sorts of informative links and books that you can read. That will be something to go live on our website this month as well. Veterans, Native Americans, book clubs, book sales, crafty things, all sorts of fun activities and programs coming up. Pick up your calendar, check out the website, and join us. And y'all have a great day. Hope to see you soon. Stop by and see us. Bye.